So I was walking around campus one day and I was looking for my friends. I eventually find them in a room playing video games, and I walk in and I say, guys, what game are you playing? And they look at me and they say, you need to play this game. This game is a religious experience. You should play this game. So I'm like, okay. And I go on eBay and I buy the game, and eventually it shows up on my doorstep. I pop it into the Xbox. Loads completely. All I see is the title screen. Deadly Premonition. I hit the start button. I'm like, okay, this sounds like it'll be fun. So you started the game out as Francis York Morgan. He's an FBI agent investigating a case of a dead girl. And he talks to this dual personality called Zach. Now, I don't know if Zach's actually a person or like if it's just somebody he made up, but Zach is definitely a character. So the car spins out of control and we end up in the woods. Then I have to navigate York out of the woods, and all of these weird monsters are walking backwards at me and I have to shoot them. The controls are okay, but they could be better. We get out of the woods and we have to run up the street to the bridge where Emily and George are waiting for us. So then York gets a cheap hotel and we end the day. We wake up the next morning and I'm in the hotel room and there's a shaving station and a changing station, and I'm trying to figure out if this is still a survival horror game or if this is a life simulator. So then York has to go get coffee, and he talks to the coffee, and the coffee tells him things, and then he leaves, and then we have to go driving, and I get the controls for the car, and it's literally like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. There's a turn signal button. I'm not gonna use that. I'm just gonna drive. By this point, any normal person would probably take the controller, put it in the trash can, and go on with their life. But for some reason, I cannot pull my hands away from this controller. So we go to the police department, and then we meet Thomas, and Thomas wants us to find these squirrel keys. So I pick up a pair of squirrel keys, and I give it to him, and he's like, no, these are the wrong keys. So I have to go around the entire police department trying to find all of his keys, and there are like 5 keys in this department. And I go up to Thomas with all of these keys, and I'm just like, Thomas, why do you have so many keys? Why do you have so many goddamn squirrel keys? Why can't you tell any of these apart? So then we grab George and Emily, and we go in the car, and we go to the hospital, and we autopsy the body, and we go back out, and we have to go and investigate more crime scenes. And every time we go into a crime scene, the raincoat killer, the guy who killed the girl, keeps chasing after me, and there are chase scenes, and I have to wiggle the controller, and every time York comes up to a box, you have to press A, he climbs up on the box, and you press A again to go down from the box. He can't just jump over the box. I'm saying to myself, York, why can't you jump over the box? I could jump over the box, but you can't jump over the box. Why can't you jump over the box? And cutscenes start happening left and right, and by this time, the background music is finally becoming apparent to me. This is the most awful background music I've ever heard for any horror video game ever. I can't even take this game seriously anymore. It's like every time there's some sort of sexual tension, there's that whistle. This whistle. Oh my god, it haunts me in my dreams. So then more detective stuff happens, and eventually more girls die, and it's just getting more and more ridiculous, and they're not dead, but then the sheriff kills them. Why is George constantly like accidentally killing them? I mean, he didn't have to cut the rope. He cut the rope and she died. But then shit gets really weird. Thomas goes missing, and we have to go fishing for these files because the coffee told him to go fishing. And while we're fishing, that whistle song is still playing, and it takes me like 12 minutes to find this file because it's so goddamn impossible to find the goddamn file. And then we find it, and we take it to this guy who told us about the raincoat killer from the past, and then Thomas is found. So we go to Thomas's house, and there's wigs, and there's dresses, and shoes, and I don't even know, man. This house is so effed up on so many levels, and this music, and I should be done with this game by now. I'm like, this game is absolutely ridiculous. Why am I still playing? It was because I couldn't stop. I needed to figure out who this killer was. I needed to figure out why York kept talking to Zach. I'm asking myself this whole time, how in God's name could a game this bad be so good? So I leave Thomas's house, and the girl who died first is there. She's standing right there, and we follow her around like 12 blocks. And she takes us to a bar. So we go inside the bar, and that weird monster shit is still happening. So we make it to the end of the level or whatever, and we end up in this weird kinky room, and there's a whole bunch of like leather and bondage crap, and we're just like, what the hell? So York examines some weird crap, and all of a sudden we're knocked out, and I could not believe what was right in front of my eyes. Squirrel Boy Thomas had knocked us out, but it wasn't exactly Thomas. It was like Chick Thomas. He's just sitting there in drag, and I'm just like, yo, Thomas, what? And he starts dancing on our passed out body, and then York gets kidnapped, and so I'm not playing as York, but instead I get to play as Emily. And holy shit, why couldn't we have played as Emily from the beginning? Her controls are so much easier. She runs so much faster, and her gun packs so much more of a punch. But we have to follow the fat guy around town with his dog, and we get to the building, and she goes in the room, and there's the monsters, and she climbs the clock tower, and there's Thomas, and he's sitting there, and we shoot him, and the dog goes to save York. And then York comes out, he's like, oh, okay, so I finally figured out the murderer. And they're like, oh, well, wasn't it Thomas? They're like, no, it was So we go back to the police department, and we find Thomas's sister passed out at the bottom of the police department basement, and Emily goes up to her, and she shoves the seeds down her throat, and then we give her to the fat guy, and we go and we fight the killer, and he turns into a demon or what? I don't even know. And then he's just passed out, and then the hospital, and then Emily, and then he's gone, and then the fat guy, and the demons, and I'm just sitting there on my couch, and I'm like, how did this game escalate so quickly? I can't pry myself away at all right now. I'm just sitting there. I'm in awe. This game has made me feel. I can't even describe this. I actually have felt for these characters now. I don't want anyone else to die except for like the people who are bad, and just I love everything, and then I keep going, and then York, and then Zach, and then the tree, and then the seeds, and then the demons, and I just go back to school and I tell my friends, guys, I finished the game. And they're like, why did you finish the game? And I'm like, I couldn't stop not finishing the game. And then I watched them finish the game. And I watched them experience everything I went through. And we laughed and we cried. And then we went home and we couldn't comprehend everything that just happened. So what I'm saying to you is just play this game. This game is so bad, but this game is so good. You just gotta try. You just gotta chug through, and you'll make it. This game will change you. It's a religious experience.